Hi, my name is Brittany J. Jones. In this video, I will be showing how to sew carriers, also known as belt loops. The method that I'm going to be sharing is awesome because it eliminates the need for us to have to turn the fabric right side out, and we all love it when we do not have to grab a loop turner. One thing that I like to do is use a garment that I already have in my wardrobe with belt loops. I like to take a look at the width of the belt loop and also the stitching. I use that as a guide sometimes to make sure that I am creating the width and the stitch lengths of my belt loops that I like. So I do recommend taking a look at a garment in your wardrobe. That way you can kind of use that as inspiration for how wide you want your belt loops to be, and also for your stitching, how close you want them to the edge. I'm going to be showing you two different versions in this video. One has the short edges of the carriers raw, and the other one we're going to be folding it in and stitching all the way around. This is going to be a fun one. Let's get started. To create carriers, I'm going to be using this pattern piece here for this tutorial. The first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and fold and press along my fold line. So I've gone ahead and I've done that here. I pressed my carrier piece in half right along the fold line. After you have the fold pressed, you want to go ahead and open up your carrier. And we want to bring the raw edges from both sides here to meet in the center. So I'm going to fold this to the center like so. I'm going to go to the ironing board. I'm going to give that a press. I'm also going to do it for the other side, bringing it in to the fold and give that a press. Once you have folded in the raw edges and given those a press, now you want to fold along the first fold and press again. So your carrier piece will look like this. Once you have it pressed in half and it looks like this, now we can go to the sewing machine and we can stitch close to both long edges. So we're going to stitch close to this edge here as well as this edge here. So let's go ahead and do both of those stitches now. I'm going to begin stitching on this side here, and I'm going to stitch again close to the edge. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end of my stitch. Once you have one row stitched, you're going to do the same thing to the other side. Now that you have sewn close to both of the edges, now you can refer back to your sewing instructions to see exactly how many carriers you need to cut and at what length do you need to cut them at. Let's take a look at another way to sew carriers. For this demonstration, I've gone ahead and I folded in 1/4 inch first on the short raw edges here. And then I folded the carrier piece in half along the fold line and I pressed that in place. The next steps are the same as the previous carriers. You will bring the raw edges to the center and press those in place. Once you have those pressed, then you will fold it over again and give it a final press. For this carrier though, you won't just stitch close to both of the long edges, you will also stitch close to the pressed edge. Let's go ahead and do all the pressing and stitch this carrier in place together. Once we get down here to the end, I'm going to drop my needle and pivot to stitch across the pressed edge. When you get to areas like this, I like to grab my seam ripper or even a pin just to help guide the fabric through. Now I'm just going to stitch down the other long edge as well as the short pressed edge. Once you have all of the edges sewn for this carrier piece, now you can refer back to your sewing directions to move on to your next step.